Identify the type of policy each of the following actions A to D would be addressing. Identify the type of policy each of the following actions A to D would be addressing. A, the government double lump sum.
Okay, thank you very much. So what type of policy is this one? When the government doubles the lump sum taxes? Anyone? You are free to just turn on your mic and, speak. What policy is this? What could it be? Colleague, what could be this policy when the government, doubles the lump sum tax? What could be the policy?
Isn't it contraction of policy? Something like that.
Contractionally policy. What policy specifically is it? Is it a monetary policy, a fiscal policy, or what? Or what policy is that?
Monetary policy.
It's monetary policy. When the government doubles the taxes, what policy could that be?
It should be fiscal policy.
Fiscal policy. All right, thank you. I did indicate last time, I said that fiscal policy is about government increasing taxes and reducing expenditure or doing the opposite, right? So the fiscal that guides the government on the revenue mobilization through taxes mainly and government expenditure or revenue expenditure. So that policy, it is called the fiscal policy. So this would be the expansionary fiscal, restrictive fiscal policy. That is to say the government increasing the taxes. And each one of us shall read today. Josephine, read for us being. Oh, Josephine is not around. Okay, Gladys Mlenga, read for us being.
B reads, the government cuts down lump sum taxes.
Yes, so what policy could that be? We are starting with the reader. So what does the reader think? What do you think? When the government cuts down lump sum taxes or the government reduces taxes, what could the policy be?
I think it's expansionary fiscal policy.
Right. So when the government reduces expenditure, reduces taxes and increases expenditure, on the other hand, is an expansionary fiscal policy. And Madam Chinza, read for us the following question. Should be seen.
The government cuts on social welfare spending, such as the provision of university scholarships.
Right. So what policy could that be? If the government cuts on social welfare spending, such as the provision of university scholarships. if the government reduces on social welfare expenditure, what policy could that be? Hello?
It's still fiscal policy. So the government wants to reduce on spending, which means it's a contraction.
Okay, interesting. What if you look at it from this angle? Is this social welfare expenditure captured in the GDP?
No.
No. So if that expenditure is not really captured, does that affect our economy? It's an open discussion, really. How does that affect our economy?
When they say provision of university scholarship,
Mhm.
the government at the end of someone's program, they recover it. It's not spending.
And the scholarship, this is different from the one that the Zambia does. Is a loan. That one, yeah. That one is a loan where someone pays afterwards. What about a scholarship? Is it true that every time a scholarship is recovered, the one
No.
that Zambians usually call bursary, that one is not usually a bursary because it's repaid nowadays. It's just a loan. What do we think? I'm just hearing the
Which
views.
one is a gift?
Sorry?
It's a gift.
Like this one that the government of Zambia is doing now, that one is a loan now. It's not really
First.
a bursary. Yeah, it's not really a scholarship per se. Like so, people have to pay back. It's a loan. But is it true that every scholarship people have to buy for a scholarship, not for a loan, not for a loan, university loan?
I think a scholarship is a free, like these are the transfers that are free to an economy. It's a leakage, I think. It's like,
Wow. What do the others think? I like the lines of thinking. Thank you. What do we think about the scholarships? Hello? Is the expenditure on scholarships a part of government expenditure?
So, sir, on the other side, you can say it's an expenditure because the government, I think they budgeted for it.
Yes, sir.
Say this year they're going to say to give, let's say, 100 scholarship. That is coming from the budget. Can get you. Are you mute?
Yeah. Right. Okay, look. Okay. The government pays those scholarships or gives those scholarships is part of expenditure. Fiscal policy is just about government spending and also mobilizing taxes. It doesn't matter on whether the government is spending on who, as long as the government is spending the revenue that they have mobilized, because those scholarships, they use the taxpayers' money. They use that money from the money that they have mobilized, okay, as part of the money that they have gained. So it's part of their revenue. So it is the expenditure. Is that clear? This is how it is standing right now, but you can still do some further research. Yeah. Okay, what about number D? And Lydia will read for us D. Read for us 1D. What does it say? What does question number 1D say?
Okay, it reads the government increases spending of public services such as the building of roads and the recruitment of nurses in public hospitals.
Thank you. So what policy could that be? The government increasing spending on public services such as building of the roads and recruitment of nurses in public schools. What policy?
Is it not expansionary fiscal policy?
Hello?
Expansionary.
Is that an answer or a question?
It's an answer.
Oh,
Trying.
okay. Is it not? Okay. All right. So we are told it's an expansionary fiscal policy. Do we have any answer different from the one suggested?
Hello, Sam. I looked at, what did you say on C?
On C, I say that it's still expenditure because it's part of the money. It's part of the money flow, the cash outflow from the revenue that the government has. It's still an outflow. So not really to be confused with what we learned about what is captured in GDP or not. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes we start confusing concepts. Right. So we said on number D this is an expansionary fiscal policy. Now, in relation to the policies we have identified, we are to give a comprehensive explanation clearly by showing each step of the results of the actions on an economy. Okay. The question is above. In relation to the policies we have identified, we are to give a comprehensive explanation of the results of the actions on an economy. So it's still the same question. What would be the result of government doubling the lump sum taxes? What would be the result? Hello. What would be the result of the same on an economy? We can talk
Which
about this.
question are you reading? Are you on 2 or?
we are doing two, not two is connected to one. If it's one, like we are relating to the policies we have just identified. We are trying to give also the comprehensive explanation of the results of the actions on an economy. For example, if the government doubles lump sum tax, what would be the result of the same on an economy? Okay, still the same. So we said that when the government doubles taxes, they are cutting taxes, they are reducing or trying to contract the economy. So the impact would be a reduction in the aggregate expenditure, or the total output of the economy shall decrease because of a reduction, because of what? Because of the increase in the lump sum taxes. And again, if the government cuts down or reduces the taxes, the opposite effect will happen. If the government cuts expenditure, if the government reduces expenditure, that will contract the economy, and so the level of output of the economy will go down. And if the government increases expenditure on point number G, we find that the level of output, or the output of the entire economy, does increase. Okay. We are given some information on a hypothetical economy. Yes.
Go fast.
Yes, sir.
What happened to?
Oh, okay. What happens to what?
Unemployment.
Okay.
When
What happens when what?
Referring to A.
Oh, so what will happen to unemployment when the taxes are doubled?
It will increase.
Unemployment will increase.
Yes.
Right. Because the level of output will reduce, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know that Okun's law tells us the same, that when the level of aggregate output reduces, then unemployment increases, isn't it? There is that opposite relationship between unemployment and the level of output, yeah? That's according to Okun's law. Yeah, so you can just try to relate the same to many factors and many areas. You can talk about inflation if you can. Try to connect all the key variables affected. You're given the information of an economy of Zululand. So total tax income for 2010 is 25,000. There is an expenditure on national health care expenditure. There is also expenditure on light rail and bicycle path system. There is expenditure on defense spending and the education sector expenditure. Can we calculate the budget deficit or budget surplus for the land? How can we calculate the budget surplus or budget deficit?
So it's just by
okay, how do you, how? Yes.
It's just by adding the all on each sector, then you subtract from the income in that year. Then
Okay.
If it's less, then there is what? Then you are within the budget.
Right. So look, if the government budget surplus or deficit is found by saying taxation or revenue minus government expenditure. So from our taxes, we are going to subtract all the expenditure. So expenditure on all these, right? The expenditure. When we subtract, if you find the negative answer, it means that we have what? We have a deficit. If it's a positive one, it means that we have a surplus. And what is the government surplus? If it's a surplus. So 25,000 minus how much is this? 1,500, 1.9, 2015. It's 2015. So how much is it?
Sir,
Ma?
what does T and G stand for? No, sorry.
Taxes.
Taxes and
Taxes.
G.
Oh, that's the total revenue from the government, and G is government expenditure.
No, thank you.
Okay, what's the difference?
22,950.
22,950. So this is our surplus because it's positive. Is that clear? Right. Okay. What percentage of income does the economy above allocate to defense? We want the percentage. How can you find the percentage? Anyone?
It's a total number on spending on defense, which is 500, over and the total spending, which is 2,050 quarter times 25,000.
Right. What percentage of income does the economy above? What percentage of the income does the economy above allocate to defense? What percentage of expenditure does the economy above allocate to defense? How different or how similar are those questions?
Sir, sorry, my network is bad. What did you say about a budget surplus and budget deficit? If it's positive and if it's negative, what does that mean?
If it's positive surplus, negative deficit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm asking how different or how similar are the two questions? What percentage of income does the economy above allocate to defense? What percentage of expenditure does the economy above allocate to defense? Are the questions the same? And there was silence. They are different. Okay, thank you. So what percentage of income does the economy above allocate to defense?
Okay, sir. So now you compare it with the total income, that is 500 over 25,000. Then the other one, you compare it with the total expenditure, which is 500
expenditure
over 2,050 times 100.
All right. So what is the percentage in the question?
2%.
2%. Interesting. Only 2%. Oh, this economy is interesting. It just allocates to defense only 2%. Wow. You can do the allocation. What about to education? 1,000 over 25 times 100. How much is going to education?
4%.
Only 4%. This economy is not like the New Dawn. I'm non-partisan. Yeah. So that's what is there. Okay. What is the difference between a progressive and regressive tax? We had this question in the previous conversation, isn't it? But it was in a different paper as well. What's the difference between progressive and regressive tax? What did we say? You remember what I said about progressive tax and the regressive tax? What could be the difference?
I think if I remember you very well, you mentioned that is it progressive? That is where the people who earn when you earn a lot of money, you are the tax is high. And then on the other one, those who earn a lot of money their taxes are lower than the people that are earning the low amount of money.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else? What does it mean? And how would you write? Imagine this is an exam question. How would you just write? Like writing. How would you put the lines, the words to explain? Anyone? Hello? Okay. It was said that progressive tax, the tax rate increases, it increases with an increase in what? In income, whereas the other one is the opposite. What could be the difference between a direct tax and indirect tax? How different are these two? Direct tax and indirect tax. You can always bring your ideas. What do you think could be the difference? Indirect tax and direct one.
Sir,
Ma'am.
for direct tax, it's the one which is just charged directly. It's collected directly. For
By
example,
It is collected by who?
by the government, especially the pay each and pay as you earn.
Okay.
Yes.
What about indirect tax?
Indirect tax is the one they charge us like in ShopRite, VAT, something like that.
Right.
Yes.
You have just given an example. So that's how you would write. You would
So
say
let me
that
say
is
this.
okay. Imagine it's an exam. You say that is the one they charge in ShopRite.
Okay, let me say this. Direct tax is charged directly to the taxpayer, like me. Then indirect tax is charged when we spend.
Okay.
Yes.
When we spend.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Any example of indirect tax?
VAT.
Value
Maybe
added tax. Yes.
I
You
don't know
can
whether
go ahead.
I'm right. I'm not. I don't know. Like for I don't know whether I'm talking about windy for tax or something. Like for these mining companies, right? They employ a good number of people, staff members, and then instead of being like taxed a lot of money, then the tax goes direct to their staff members. I don't know whether I'm right.
Okay, thank you for that one. Any other example of indirect tax? You see, you already know the answers, but you know where the challenge is. Let me speak about this. The challenges that students get or find in exams. These things you have gone through them several times. We have talked about them. You think you know them, which is a good thing. But when I bring a test, you should not, abscond from tests. Because these things, sometimes you think you know them until you run out of the words to write. I think you relate to what I'm saying. These things you may think you know, if you have never sat down to write down, like, how would you bring out the point? Those things are not things that you can just go to start practicing in an exam, thinking how to write. The way how your mind may not be clear now on how to organize the words, that is how it would be even worse in an exam. You know what to say, but how to organize the words. So please practice writing down your thoughts. This is very important. Okay. Now define the fiscal policy. We have already defined fiscal policy. What did we say it is?
That's how the other one, you haven't explained.
You have not concluded.
Where?
You're supposed to say something at least.
The indirect tax, you don't, like, the government does not collect it directly from the taxpayers. There is an intermediate, there is some intermediate entities in between. They are the ones that collect the tax. For example, that tax you pay to the council, that, like, those marketeers every day, like, they pay tax, isn't it? They pay maybe the
Market
council.
levy.
Like such taxes, you don't pay direct, like, to the government. They are paid via some intermediaries, but ultimately they'll find themselves in the hands of the government. We gave you, you already know the examples and you have given. Very, very important. We said the government policy is the policy that guides government revenue mobilization and expenditure. Explain now how the government can use fiscal policy to increase the level of economic activity. How can it increase employment and ultimately decrease the level of unemployment in the economy? And the hint is that in your explanation, clearly indicate whether the policy is expansionary or contractionary fiscal policy. Start explaining. You can start explaining.
So I'll start by when the government wants to increase the, to reduce the unemployment levels, which in turn will increase that will be an contraction policy. So what will happen is the government can increase the taxes, which in turn will companies or the banks will not borrow, and the company will cut on the employees, which in turn will reduce will increase unemployment.
Okay, excuse me, sir. What are we looking at? Are we increasing unemployment or decreasing unemployment? What does the question say?
So the question says, at the level of activities to increase employment or decrease the level of unemployment in an economy. There are two questions.
That is what it says. What question are you reading? Like we are reading question number 3B. What does it say? Read it again.
Explain how the government can use fiscal policy to increase the level of the economy activity, comma, increase the employment and consequently decrease the level of unemployment in an economy. Hint, in your explanation, clearly indicate whether the policy used is expansionary or contractional policy. Okay.
So we are decreasing unemployment, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, explain now.
They want us to increase the employment.
So that we reduce the unemployment, isn't it?
Yes.
Explain.
So like this one, then the government will reduce the taxes to attract the companies to borrow money and to invest. So the investment will go high. In the short and long run, more people will be employed, so that in the inflation will go high and then unemployment will reduce.
At the inflation will do what?
The inflation will go high because the activity is going to increase. A lot of people are going to get paid.
So when inflation goes high, what happens to unemployment?
In the long run, unemployment will reduce because it means that a lot of people are working.
When inflation is high?
Yes. There is more money in circulation, and eventually the prices will increase because inflation is a continuous increase of prices.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You have said in the long run. What if it's in the short run? You said something like long run. What if it's a short run?
In the short run, I think I said in the short and the long run.
That's what you said.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the submission. Yeah, we have gotten the submission. Do we have any other submission or any addition? Okay, to summarize. Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just had a thought, like maybe if there's an expansion when the government wants expansion or this word is a problem to me. When there's a contraction and what?
Expansionary.
Expansionary, yes. So that's where we have all more and what? And
this is
those
fiscal
other
policy.
two. Pardon?
Not monetary policy, not mixed with monetary policy. We are talking about fiscal policy.
Yeah, no, not almost, but the so go ahead.
About that, I'm mixing.
I'm mixing up things.
The data is now mixing. Okay. Okay, it's okay. Thank you. When the government wants to increase the level of, economic activities, they can select the expansionary fiscal policy. That is to say, they can increase government expenditure and they can reduce taxes. When that is done, okay, people will have more disposable income. They will have more disposable income. And since the government has increased the expenditure, the levels of employment will increase. And because of the same, unemployment will decrease. We know that employment and unemployment don't go in the same direction. So it is an expansionary fiscal of economic activities and fiscal policy to reduce the level of economic activity and demand pull inflation in the economy, all right? The hint is that you have to explain clearly and indicate whether the policy use this expansionary or fiscal policy. How can the government use the fiscal policy to reduce the level of economic activities and reduce the demand pull inflation? Hello?
To reduce demand pull inflation, it will mean that the government will need to regulate wages and salaries.
Okay. Wow. Maybe let me read the hint again. In your explanation, clearly indicate whether the policy use this expansionary or contractionary fiscal policy. You can explain again.
So maybe I can come and help my sister. So the policy will be contractionary fiscal policy. It's because the government wants to reduce the level of activity. So how will the government help to reduce the pull inflation?
Right.
So the way the government can help to reduce the demand pull inflation is by giving the subsidy, because it means that the prices were high, so the government will try to give subsidies to make sure that the prices go down. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Right. So when the government wants to reduce the level of activities, so what they can do is that they can increase taxes and they can reduce what? Government expenditure. That is called contractionary or restrictive fiscal policy. Okay, when all that is done, then aggregate demand here will reduce. And because of the reduction in the aggregate demand, the demand pull inflation shall go down. Remember, aggregate demand and the demand pull inflation, they move in the same direction. There is a positive relationship between the two. When the aggregate demand increases, even demand pull inflation increases, and vice versa. Did you get that one?
What is pull inflation, sir?
Demand pull inflation, sir. We said the last time, under inflation, there is this demand, there is this aggregate supply and the aggregate demand AD1. Prices are here, right? This is our Y, the level of output Y. I want to show this graphically. When aggregate demand shifts to the right by increasing, aggregate demand has increased. You've seen output will increase, even the prices will do what? Will increase to P1. Again, when it increases further right, then again, the prices will keep on what? Rising, and output will be rising. So as output will be increasing, because of the increase in the aggregate demand, even prices will be increasing. So when the aggregate output is reduced or aggregate demand is reduced, even the prices will start decreasing, because these two are positively related. You got it? This is the graphical presentation of demand pull inflation.
Maybe
We can still revisit it now.
Maybe the question could be what causes the pull inflation?
The demand pull inflation is caused by the increase in the aggregate demand, okay, of the economy. When the aggregate demand is increasing, then demand pull inflation is increasing at the same time. So it is caused by that. So all these other factors that cause an increase in the aggregate demand, they will cause demand pull inflation.
Okay, no, I was mistaken into cost pull inflation.
Or cost pull
which is
inflation.
caused by the price, cost pull inflation also.
Yes. That
Okay.
one is for cost of production.
Cost of production, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.